first thing is to harvest the logs. We don't cut the whole tree. It's very important that we just prune certain branches of the trees, right? Also, we can take advantage of branches that fall in a natural way, right, in the forests, or also the sides of the roads, the trails. When you clean them, you can take advantage of the oak branches. In this case is Quercus bumelioides, the species of white oak, we call it, that can be used, but there are plenty species of woods that can be used for this purpose. The important thing is to harvest them like healthy branches with no signs of other mushrooms growing already, because sometimes if they were harmed or they have an injury, they are going to be growing already some competitors, right? That we want to avoid. So we need to be sure that the branch is healthy and that that tree is not very is cut and not wait more than 2 months for inoculating it, right? So you first prune them, then we clean them with a brush. Right here is the incubation room. In the incubation room, we bring the logs. Right here I have this sort of ramp where I put the so I can work faster than before. That was kind of a mess. So we here drill the 30 to 60 holes in each branch, depending on the size of the branch. It can be done all around the surface of the trunks of the logs, right? This way. And in order to cover all the surface of the log, we do like this pattern where we are going to drill a hole between the two holes that we drilled before. Close to the cut, we always do the extra hole there, see? Because this is the surface where a lot of competitors or pollutants can enter, so we want to be sure that there's enough mycelium here. So when the log is all covered by these holes, then we pass here where we inject the mycelium. Later on I can show you because I left it upstairs. We inject the mycelium in the logs and then we seal it with a paraffin, or it can be also bee wax, used in a more organic material that also is not toxic for the employer that is applying it, right? Bee wax, it can be used, or also paraffin, to seal each one of these holes that already has the mycelium. And then it's going to pass a period of incubation of at least 6 months. And in that time, then you're going to see that the mycelium, the shiitake mycelium, is already successfully colonizing the log, and you see it in the cut. And this, when it turns purplish to brown, this color, it means that that log is already for the immersion. And the immersion is what we do to induce the fruiting of the shiitake. The immersion is done in these pools of water. This takes about 24 hours, where the logs are going to be immersed in the water. For example, these logs were put there yesterday, and today we have to take them out of the pool to wait for the fruiting. The fruiting occurs in the fruiting room. Let me bring the key. After the immersion is when the mycelium of the shiitake feels the change of temperature, that we are imitating the entrance of the winter, right? So we imitate the entrance of the winter to induce the fruiting of the mushrooms. Right here you can see how the mushrooms have already been immersed, and then after the logs are immersed, they are going to start growing. "15 days after the immersion, they are already this size, and about 25 to 30 days after the immersion, they're going to be harvested and ready to sell. The fresh shiitake mushrooms are valued for their texture, their taste, and also their medicinal properties, right? That we already were talking about, the presence of lentinan, the presence of a high quality protein. It's another characteristic that we valued a lot. This means that it has all the essential amino acids required for the human survival.
And it has immunomodulating compounds too?
The medicinal properties known for shiitake are the immunomodulation. That means that is going to produce cells of the immune system. No, this is broken. And also the I'm sorry. The cytostatic properties that are proven to reduce the rate in which tumors grow, right? So right now it's given to treat patients with cancer in order to serve as a complementary therapeutics.
So they grow out of the holes that you drilled?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No, sometimes just by the weakened parts of the bark. It's very important to use healthy logs because the ones that are broken already or they have injuries, they are going to produce for less time, be productive for less time. But well managed, one log of this can be productive up to 6-8 years.
Wow.
After they fruit, we put them to rest. That means in a drier environment where the shiitake mycelium enters like in a resting phase where we also cut with other mushrooms that might be starting to compete with our mycelium. So that resting period is going to be 3 months, and then we put them in the water again.
And you do a 6-month cycle?
No, the cycle is 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
From inoculation to harvest.
No, let me explain this way. From inoculation to harvest, it's an incubation period of 6 to 8 months. And then each 4 months, it's going to be immersed in the water. So each one of these batches, this is one batch, this is another batch, right? Is going to be 1 month fruiting and then 3 months in the resting area. Let me show you the resting area here.
And you were saying earlier that a lot of shiitakes are grown on a shorter growth cycle that has
Yes.
less nutrients and of the less medicinal compounds.
Well, what it has been found is that compared to the mushrooms grown in prepared substrates, the ones grown in wood have greater levels of lentinan, that is the medicinal molecule proven to have these properties of tumor for tumor treatment, as well as for immunomodulation.
And some farms will grow shiitake, the same species, but at a faster rate.
Yes, well, when you grow it in a prepared substrate of sawdust or other substrates, the cycles are shorter, right? But they don't produce for 6 to 8 years as we do. They are going to be shorter times, and then you have to prepare more substrate to produce more. Probably 2-3 flushes, and then it's done. On the other hand, in wood, you can have 3 flushes a year for 6 years, 7 years. So here is where they get to rest, which means that it's going to be a drier area where both my mycelium and any other competitor that can be growing stops its growth. It enters like in a latence period. Be careful there because so if you divide the total of logs that you have in 8 batches, then we immerse each 15 days, and we have the harvest year round, right? Because we now scale our production in 8 batches, and since there are cycles of 4 months, because 3 months is resting and 1 month is fruiting. So the new logs that we inoculate, they no longer need to be inoculated. They are already growing the shiitake mycelium, and we just enter in a cycle where we rest 3 months, induce fruiting in the water, and fruit. It's important to note that to control certain plagues, we use non-toxic substances. For example, we do an extract of eucalyptus to avoid the certain flies and mosquitoes that leave the eggs in the mushrooms in order for the larvae to develop, and they might be a real problem for the crops. If we do not control them with eucalyptus, there are lots of losses. And the other thing that we use is a biocontrol technique that is called BT, or Bacillus thuringiensis. It's an extract of a bacteria that is innocuous for that is harmless for people, but it controls the appearance of certain flies too, as well as other flying insects that might harm our crops, right? So these two ways of controlling insects are eco-friendly in the sense that they are not persistent pesticides that harm our health and also the health of the environment, but actually considered to be accepted for organic production. These products are also applied in different steps of the process in order to have a more preventive rather than treating the problem when it's already done. What I mean is that we have to, for example, fill the pools with water after applying the eucalyptus. That way, all the logs is going to be immersed in an extract of eucalyptus, and that way we might prevent the flying insects problem. Another product that we can use to avoid the appearance or the proliferation of mushrooms or other fungal mycelium that might affect our logs is alcohol, ethanol, right? Because we can locate the competitor and remove it and then apply alcohol in order to clean as much as we can our substrate from other fungi that can compete or even affect our mycelium. There are two kinds of problems with other mycelium. One is the competitors, right? That is just another mushroom that is taking advantage of the substrate. But other ones can be disease for the shiitake mycelium. So these other fungal myceliums, we need to control them on time. Otherwise, we might have losses of crops, right? So these are the three techniques of plague control or pest control. One is eucalyptus, one is BT, and the other one is pure ethanol.
And this whole method you're following to grow shiitake is very sustainable. It's like zero carbon.
Yes, one of the main advantages of this technique is the very low carbon footprint that even is thought to revert, if well done, it's thought to revert the negative effects of the modern food production, right? Because it's actually allowing us, if we harvest the branches and keep the forest, we are raising the level of carbon that is fixed by the forest, right? And also the other thing that is very eco-friendly is that a very low requirement in terms of energy that this technique has, right? We really use simple tools, right? We don't need especially trained personnel that requires like a lot of equipment or a lot of investment, right? But it's thought to be a technique that the locals can adjust to their needs and to their interests and practice without a great amount of energy or sophisticated equipment, etc. Right? So it's thought to be complementary for the economy of the people that live here in the highlands of the Savegre River.
Interesting. And you see here it's cloud forest up here. 9,000 foot elevation. And how long have you been doing this for?
Well, Finca Boryana has been producing shiitake mushrooms on logs since the year 2013. We have already passed through a more like experimental phase to a commercial phase that started around the year 2017, and since then we have been perfecting this technique that allowed us to produce food with a great nutritional and medicinal value in accordance to the most important goal of our project, that is the conservation of the cloud forest here in the highlands of Costa Rica.
And how did you get into mycology and growing mushrooms?
Well, very long story. When I started studying biology, when I was 17 years old, there were probably other groups more popular, or what we call charismatic groups in terms of ecology, like let's say plants or animals, right? Some people very inclined to study birds or to study mammals, and mushrooms with other not so charismatic groups were sometimes left aside, but I was able to work in the as an assistant of the Doctora Julieta Carranza, the specialist that really allowed me to work with her and to be close related to this group that, even though it's not as popular or as trendy like other groups, it holds still a lot of information that we need to study, right? To accept that there are still lots of questions to be answered, and I understand that there were mysteries, right, yet to be solved in the group of mushrooms that attract me to specialize in this group of organisms.
And why shiitake?
Well, it's delicious. The reason why I choose to grow shiitake is because I found it very, very delicious, but scarce. Right? I found another project that is not very far from here. This of Martin Salazar is the name of this neighbor of mine that has already since 2008 of producing shiitake mushrooms, and he showed me a lot of his techniques. So I was interested in this species because it's perfect for vegetarian diets or vegan diets, because it has a great amount of high quality protein, as well as the taste and texture that are delicious. So basically I decided to produce shiitake mushrooms because they are scarce in Costa Rican markets and because they have properties that I valued highly.
And so you have 2-week production kind of cycles, and you take them to San Jose or to local markets, San Isidro.
Once a week I go to San Jose and I deliver my product, but so far that distribution part of the chain is still what is an obstacle for me,
Yeah.
especially because the product it has a very short shelf life, right? It means that if you don't sell it fast, well, you lost, right? And therefore the 0-kilometer strategy I think is the best, right? To bring people to know the finca. We want to build a restaurant, right? To have also the visitors to be able to enjoy our ways of preparing the mushrooms, and hopefully that the people pass by the finca and buy the mushrooms, right? In order to reduce costs of distribution, right? That are kind of expensive, right?
Where could people find out more about Finca Boryana and you?
Well, my name is Ignacio Arroyo. I'm a Costa Rican biologist in charge of Finca Boryana. You can look for our project in social media, in Instagram, like Finca Boryana, Finca Boryana, and also in Facebook. We are located in San Gerardo de Dota. This region is known for low impact tourism, ecotourism, more focus on wildlife observation, bird watching, hiking in the forests, and activities that are not as massive as other areas of the country. So if you like to know Costa Rica and the efforts that we are doing to preserve the cloud forest here in Finca Boryana, I invite you to visit us.
Okay, thank you very much for the tour.
You're welcome.